Are the Minnesota Vikings about to pull off the greatest defensive heist of the offseason? We just got word that the team signed veteran cornerback James Pierre, a move that is already being tabbed as a potential game-changing breakout for our secondary. This matters because it proves the front office is doubling down on their bargain bin strategy to fuel Brian Flores' aggressive scheme. And honestly, the more details come out, the harder it is to ignore what is going on behind the scenes. Smash that like button, subscribe, and comment your name and city below so I can shout you out. Let's get into it. The Minnesota Vikings have made a quiet but potentially pivotal addition to our secondary by signing cornerback James Pierre, a move that is already sparking a conversation about his role in this defense. After spending his first 6 seasons with the Steelers and playing under our current defensive coordinator during the 2022 campaign, Pierre is now being touted by Ben Solak of ESPN as a potential breakout player who could redefine our back end. While our offseason has been relatively calm compared to other organizations, this specific signing follows a strategy of finding low-cost, high-upside talent that has previously served us well with players like Byron Murphy and Isaiah Rodgers. According to Pro Football Focus, Pierre logged 889 coverage snaps during his time in Pittsburgh, surrendering 9 touchdowns and 4 interceptions across 125 targets. His performance under our defensive coordinator back in 2022, where he allowed a 59.2 passer rating, offers a promising glimpse of what he might achieve in this system. The part fans are not ready for is how this impacts our defensive depth chart, especially given the flexibility players like Murphy provide in shifting between the slot and the outside. While many of us hope for a marquee splash during free agency, there is a grounded optimism that this 2-year, $8.5 million contract could pay dividends for a group that finished 7th in points allowed last season. The expectation is that Pierre will provide the steady, rotation-heavy presence required for a blitz-happy scheme that avoids the necessity of prolonged man coverage. This leaves us with a lingering concern that we need to examine closely as we head into training camp. Will the reliance on these bargain secondary pieces be enough to sustain our defensive momentum against the high-powered passing attacks we are destined to face throughout this upcoming schedule? The most surprising reality of our secondary is that James Pierre might be the missing piece to unlock our entire defensive philosophy this season. This move stems from the long-standing professional relationship between Pierre and our defensive coordinator, who worked together under the Pittsburgh Steelers staff during the 2022 campaign. We know our coaching staff loves rotating defensive backs on budget-friendly deals to maintain high energy, and Pierre is the perfect fit for this specific demand. Last season, he allowed a passer rating of only 49.8, a figure that Pro Football Focus notes was second only to Jamel Dean across the entire league. And that changes everything for our defensive versatility. Behind closed doors, the front office is clearly betting that our ability to pressure quarterbacks will mitigate any concerns about depth, effectively copying the successful blueprint used to secure Byron Murphy and Isaiah Rodgers. Murphy serves as the primary inspiration here, as he evolved from a modest 2-year, $17.5 million contract into a cornerstone piece currently signed for $54 million. Our staff is banking on that same developmental trajectory for Pierre, who has logged 889 coverage snaps throughout his career, tallying 16 pass breakups and 4 interceptions. Historical trends suggest this team thrives when we pair low-cost veterans with proven schemes, and the financial commitment of just $8.5 million over 2 years is a calculated risk that could yield massive dividends. The Vikings front office, led by GM Nolan Teasley, clearly values the flexibility this allows for players like Murphy to move between the slot and the perimeter. If Pierre can replicate his 2022 performance under our current defensive staff, we should expect a significant jump in production from a unit that already finished 3rd in yardage allowed last year. We are looking at a smart, efficient, and potentially dominant defensive secondary. The secondary is arguably the most vital puzzle piece for our defensive success this year, and the addition of James Pierre could determine whether we take the next step toward a championship. Here's the thing nobody wants to say. While our front 7 is designed to generate pressure, the burden on our cornerbacks to remain effective in zone coverage is immense. By bringing in Pierre on a 2-year, $8.5 million contract, our front office is betting that his familiarity with Brian Flores will translate into immediate production. With Byron Murphy and Isaiah Rodgers already holding down significant roles, the arrival of Pierre gives us the necessary flexibility to shuffle our defensive packages without sacrificing quality. This move signals a deliberate shift toward prioritizing cost-efficient veterans who thrive in our specific blitz-heavy scheme, rather than chasing high-priced names that do not fit the system. As we look at the upcoming schedule, having a deeper rotation of cornerbacks is a luxury that will pay dividends when we face high-powered passing attacks later in the year. If Pierre can maintain the form that allowed a 49.8 passer rating last season, our defense will be far more equipped to contain the talented wide receivers within our division. Strengthening the back end directly bolsters our playoff outlook by ensuring we can stop teams on critical third downs, which has historically been a struggle for us. We have seen this blueprint work before with players like Murphy and Rodgers, and it appears the Vikings are committed to this low-cost, high-reward strategy once again. Whether this proves to be the bargain of the season remains to be seen, but the potential upside for our secondary is undeniable as we prepare for training camp and the challenges of the long season ahead. The signing of James Pierre represents a classic low-risk, high-reward move for our secondary that could pay off handsomely given his history with our defensive coordinator. By securing a player for a 2-year, $8.5 million contract who has already shown he can produce when targeted, we are banking on the proven chemistry developed during their shared time in Pittsburgh. Think about it this way. If Pierre replicates his efficiency from last year, where he allowed a passer rating of 49.8, he becomes an instant bargain that stabilizes our entire defensive rotation. The upside is that he provides essential depth behind Byron Murphy and Isaiah Rodgers, allowing our coaches to shuffle personnel without sacrificing overall quality. However, the obvious downside is the lack of a large sample size. Relying on a player who has only logged 889 coverage snaps across 6 seasons invites volatility, and there is no guarantee he sustains that level of production when faced with a heavier workload in a full-time role. ESPN analyst Ben Solak seems optimistic about his potential to transform our scheme. But we must remember that other corners like Jamel Dean have set a very high bar for that specific metric of success. My honest take here is that while the excitement from national media is understandable, we should temper our expectations until we see him against starting caliber wide receivers in training camp. It is easy to look at the impressive stats from limited snaps and imagine a star, but NFL history is littered with specialists who could not handle the grind of an everyday starter position. We need to see if he can provide that consistent presence over 17 weeks, or if he remains better suited for specific situational packages under this aggressive, blitz-heavy defensive front we run here in Minnesota. As we look toward the future, the Minnesota Vikings are clearly prioritizing long-term fiscal discipline by focusing on high-value, low-cost defensive additions that complement the schemes of our coaching staff. By refusing to chase expensive, big-name free agents, the front office is signaling that this team intends to remain competitive while maintaining the cap flexibility necessary to build a sustainable contender. And I'll be straight with you, this approach demands patience but rewards us with a roster that is built to last beyond a single season. We should feel confident and cautiously optimistic heading into the year because our secondary is becoming a masterclass in efficiency. According to ESPN analyst Ben Solak, James Pierre provides a unique bargain price solution that fits our specific defensive needs perfectly. His impressive passer rating allowed of 49.8 during his limited time last season proves he has the potential to be a significant contributor. When you combine his familiarity with our defensive coordinator and the proven success we have seen with other budget-friendly signings like Byron Murphy and Isaiah Rodgers, it becomes clear that we are building a secondary that punches above its weight class. The vision is to lean on our front seven to generate pressure while our secondary players execute a disciplined, zone-heavy approach that maximizes every dollar spent. It is a calculated gamble that keeps the bank account healthy while keeping the defensive unit ranked among the best in the league. With training camp on the horizon, we have to wonder if James Pierre will secure a permanent starting job alongside Isaiah Rodgers. If you enjoyed the video, do not forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. Skol! I'll see you in the next one.